Hello and welcome to our new YouTube tutorial. In this video we're going to build a landing page with animated 3D boxes. The project will be created based on HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So we have a landing page about something like an online code editor for different libraries and frameworks. On the left side we have the heading and the button. The last word in the heading is changing with some intervals, and also the content of the button and the background are changing. On the right side we have a couple of different 3D boxes with different colors. By default they are animating, but besides that we can switch the boxes manually once we click them. Alright, so that's all about the project. Now we can start to build it. I've created a new folder on the desktop called Boxes. Let's go ahead and open it in VS Code and create our working files for HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Then open the index.html file and create a basic HTML document. Let's place here the exclamation mark and then hit tab or enter. First of all, I'm going to change the title. It's going to be boxes. And also let's link the CSS and JavaScript files. Open link tag and specify here the file name. As for the JavaScript file, I'm going to open script tag. And then we have to specify here the name of the file. Okay, finally I'm going to run the project to the browser using live server. And also let's go ahead and place the editor and the browser like so. Alright, I'm going to start to build the project with HTML markup. Let's go ahead and open the div tag, which is going to be the container. So the container will consist of two main parts. The first one is going to be the header. Let's open div tag with the class header. The header will include two elements. The first one is going to be h2 heading element with the class heading. The content is going to be the online code editor 4, and I'm going to open here span tag. Let's insert JavaScript, JS. The second element is going to be button with the class btn. Then we need open, then again span tag with the content JS. Alright, next we need to create the boxes. Let's open div tag with the class boxes. Right now I'm going to create just one box, and once we customize it then we will take care of the rest of the boxes. Let's open div tag with classes box and box 1. So the box will consist of 6 different sides. Let's open div tag. It's going to be top side. Let's duplicate this code 5 times and change the class names. The second one is going to be bottom side. Then we'll have front side, back side, right side and left side. Okay, so that's it about the HTML markup for now. Let's move on and start to write CSS. First of all, I'm going to create some reset and default styles. Let's select every element using an asterisk. First of all, I'm going to get rid of default margin and padding. Let's set both of them to 0. Also, I'm going to set box size into border box. And also, I'm going to define the font family. It's going to be Arial sans serif. Okay, so throughout the project I'm going to use rem as the measurement unit. By default 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels. I want to convert it and make it 10 pixels, and for that we have to decrease the font size of the HTML element. We need to make it 62.5%. Alright, after that let's take care of the container. First of all, I'm going to define its width and height. The width is going to be 100%. As for the height, I'm going to make it 100% of the viewport. Then change the background color. I'm going to use here RGB value 12786167. Alright, next I'm going to place the header and the boxes side by side like it's in the finished version, and also I'm going to center them. So for that, let's use a CSS flexbox. We need display flex, then justify content center and align items center. Okay, next I'm going to take care of the header. First of all, let's define its width and height. The width is going to be 40%. As for the height, let's make it 100%. After that, I'm going to place the content of the header in the center vertically and also to the left side. So let's use again CSS flexbox. We need display flex. Then we have to change the direction. It's going to be column. And then in order to center the elements vertically, let's use justify content center. And then I'm going to place the items to the left side. So let's use align items flex start. Okay, that's it about the header. Let's move on and customize the heading and the button. Let's select heading element. I'm going to increase the font size. Let's make it 4 rem. Then make the color white. Also, I'm going to make the font lighter. Let's use font weight, make it 200, and also create some space between the letters. Let's make it 0.1 rem. As you know, in the heading we have one span element which wraps the names of the technologies. So let's go ahead and customize it. I'm going to increase the font size. Let's make it 4 rem. And then let's change the color. I'm going to use here color EF D8-1D. Alright, that's it about the heading. Let's move on and customize the button. First of all, I'm going to define width and height. Let's make width 15 rem. Then the height is going to be 4 rem. And also change the background color. I'm going to use here color EF D8-1D. Okay, after that I'm going to take care of the text, the content of the button. Let's change the font size, make it 1.4 rem. I'm going to make the text uppercase. Also change the color, make it white. And also I'm going to create some space between the letters. Let's make it 0.1 rem. Alright. After that, I'm going to get rid of the default border, and also I'm going to create some space at the top of the button. Let's set border to none, and then use margin top with the value 3.5 rem. Alright, so that's it about the left side. Let's move on and customize the boxes. Select wrapper boxes, define its width and height. The width is going to be 40%. As for the height, let's make it 100%. Next, I'm going to select all the div elements inside the box, all the sides. So we need box followed by the tag name div. Let's define width and height, make both of them 7 rem, and then change the background color, make it EF D8-1D. Okay, so we can see here all 6 sides of the box. I'm going to place them on top of each other. So let's use position absolute. So as you can see, all the sides are placed on top of each other. Next, I'm going to center the box, and for that, let's use again flexbox. Actually, we can use again flexbox properties in order to center the element, but we can simply avoid using the same properties over and over again. We can create a new class in CSS called center, and we can add here display flex, justify content center, and align item center. Then we can add this class to the container and to the boxes as well. And then we can simply get rid of flexbox properties in CSS. Besides that, we have flexbox properties for the header as well. So we can get rid of from here two properties, display flex and justify content center. And then we can add a class center to the header in the HTML file. So in this case, the align items center will be overwritten by align items flex start. Alright, so after that, I'm going to build the box. I'm going to position each side separately. Before that, I'm going to create a 3D environment, and for that we have to use property called perspective. Let's set it to 150 RAM. Besides that, we need to share a 3D environment with the box sides as well. So we need to select box, and we have to use one of the properties called transform style preserve 3D. Okay, now I'm going to rotate the box slightly in order to see better how we build it. So let's use transform rotate Y with the value 45 degrees, and then rotate X with the value 30 degrees. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the top side. I'm going to rotate it according to the X-axis, and also I'm going to move it according to Z-axis. So we need here rotate X function with the value 90 degrees and translate Z with the value 3.5 RAM. Also, I'm going to use here a temporary background color, let's say red. As you can see, the top side is rotated, but we have here again the yellow background color. It happens because we have selected all the divs inside the box using the tag name, and it has a higher precedence than the class name. So in order to fix that, we just need to add here a tag name div. Okay, so now as you can see, the background color is applied to the top side. Let's move on and take care of the bottom side. Actually, I think that would be better if we decrease the opacity of the div elements. We will be able to see the sides better. Let's set opacity to 0.6. Okay, let's move on and position the bottom side. I'm going to duplicate this code. So we need to change the class name, and also I'm going to use here the value of the translate Z function with a minus sign. Okay, next we have the front side. In this case, we just need to use translate Z function with the value of 3.5 RAM. Then I'm going to customize the back side. Let's use again here translate Z function, but with a negative value. So there are left only two sides, right and left. Let's position the right side. So in case of the right side, we need rotate Y function with the value minus 90 degrees, and also translate X function with the value of 3.5 RAM. So in this case, the element is rotated from the center by default, and we have to change the origin of the transformation and make it right. Okay, finally we need to take care of the left side. So in this case, we need rotate Y function with the value 90 degrees. As for the translate X function, we need here minus 3.5 RAM. So we need to change the origin of the transformation here as well. In this case, it should be left. Okay, so that's it. The box is ready. We can get rid of the red background color and also those div elements. Alright, after that I'm going to give some shadow effect to all sides. So the box shadow property will have a couple of different values. So we need here 0.1 rem 3 times. Then the color is going to be E. And also we need the shadow from the inside. So we need here inset. Let's copy these values and paste them here. So here we need first 2 values with a minus sign. Then the third part is going to be 0.1 rem twice, then 3.5 rem, and the color RGBA. We need white color, and the opacity 0.2. Let's copy this part and add here minus sign, for the first 2 values. Okay, also let's increase the opacity, make it 0.8. Alright, so now the box looks much better. Now we can take care of the other boxes. Let's go ahead and duplicate the box 6 times in the HTML document. Then change the class names. We need here numbers from 2 through 7. So now we have 7 boxes and they are positioned in the same place. So we need to change the positions of the boxes and the colors. Let's assign to the box position relative. Then select the first one and define left and top properties. Left position is going to be minus 25 rem. As for the top position, it's going to be minus 6 rem. So the first box is positioned, and as I said, we need different colors for the boxes. So I'm going to select box 1 followed by the tag name div. So the first box is going to be for JavaScript. Let's change the background color. Use here EF-D8-1D. Okay, so that's it about the first box. Let's go ahead and take care of the second one. I'm going to duplicate this code. So the left position is going to be minus 11 rem. As for the top position, it should be minus 23 rem. The second box is going to be for React. So let's change the background color. Make it 61 dB FB. Next we have the third box. The left position is going to be 10 rem. As for the top property, I'm going to make it minus 23 rem. The third box is going to be for Vue.js. So let's change the background color, make it 41B883. Next comes the fourth box. Let's change the positions. The left property is going to be 25 rem. As for the top position, I'm going to make it minus 6 rem. This box is going to be for Angular.js. So let's change the background color. Use here B5 2E31. Then we have fifth box. The left position is going to be 22 rem. As for the top property, it's going to be 13 rem. So the fifth box is going to be for Node.js. Let's change the background color, make it 43853D. Next we have the sixth box. The left position is going to be 0. As for the top position, it's going to be 25 RAM. This box is going to be for SAS. Let's change the background color, make it CF649A. And finally, I'm going to customize the last 7th box. The left position will be -21 RAM. As for the top property, I'm going to make it 14 RAM. So the 7th box is going to be for Ember.js. Let's change the background color, make it E04E39. Alright, so all 7 boxes are positioned and have their background colors. Now we need to take care of the animations. Let's take a look at the finished project. As you can see, the boxes are rotating by default. So first of all, I want to create this animation using CSS keyframes. So we're going to rotate the boxes according to X, Y, and Z axis by 360 degrees. Let's create CSS keyframes. I'm going to call it box anim. So overall we will have 2 steps. At 0% we will have transform with rotate functions, I mean X, Y, and Z, and all 3 functions will have 0 as the value. Then at 100% we need transform with the same functions, and the value is going to be 360 degrees. Okay, so the keyframes are ready. Let's run the animation for the first box. We need here the name of the keyframes, box anim. Then the duration is going to be 100 seconds. The animation should run infinitely, and also it's going to be linear. So as you can see, the first box is rotating. Let's go ahead and do the same for the second one. In the case of the second box, I'm going to miss the first 10 seconds of the animation. So we need here a delay time with the negative value. Let's pass here -10 seconds. So we use this value because we don't need all the boxes to have the similar animations. Let's go ahead and take care of the rest of the boxes. So we need here -20 seconds. Then -30 seconds. Then the next value is going to be -40 seconds. Then -50 seconds, and for the last box we need -60 seconds. Alright, so all 7 boxes are rotating, but as you can see, they are not aligned correctly. They don't rotate according to their centers. In order to fix that, we need to use CSS flexbox. We need display flex, justify content center, and align items center. Alright, so as you can see, the problem is fixed, and now we have to take care of the second animation. Let's take a look at the finished project again. So as you can see, the boxes are moving to the center, and also they become bigger after some intervals. So I'm going to create this animation, and now we will use some JavaScript. First of all, I'm going to select all the boxes. Let's create a new variable and call it boxes. I'm going to select elements using query selector all method. We have to pass here the class name box. So as we said, we have to move and rotate the boxes at some intervals. So I'm going to use a method called setInterval, and I'm going to assign this function to the variable. Let's create variable and call it interval. Then use here setInterval method. It will take 2 parameters. The first one is going to be an arrow function, As for the second one, we need here the amount of time. Let's pass here 1000 milliseconds for a while. So let me explain what we're going to do. We need to loop through the boxes which we have selected here. Then we need to assign to each box a new class, and using that new class we will make the boxes bigger in CSS, and also we'll define their movement. In order to loop through the boxes, we need to use one of the array helper methods called forEach. So we need boxes.forEach. This method will take one parameter. It's going to be an arrow function, which itself will take one parameter, and it's going to be current box in the loop. As you know, we have 7 different boxes, and each of them has its individual classes with numbers. We need to use those numbers to move the boxes in order. I mean, we need to add a new class at first to the first box, then to the second one, and so on. First of all, I'm going to create a new variable which will be used as the counter. Let's call it current, and I'm going to make it equal to 1. Next, I'm going to use an if-else statement in which we have to define which box we have to make bigger and move. So as the condition, I'm going to define here if the box number is equal to the current variable. In order to get access to the box number, I mean the second class name of the element, we need the following. I'm going to use a property called classList. As I said, the box number is the second class of the element. So in order to get access to the second class, we need here 1 in square brackets. So once we have an access to the class, next we need to use the second part of the class name, I mean the actual number of the box. And for that, I'm going to use one of the array helper methods called split. This method allows us to split the class on a specific character, and it returns an array. We need to split the class name on the dash, and we need to grab the second part of the class, I mean the number of the box. So we need split, then we need dash, and then the index number 1. As I said, we need to compare the box number and the current variable. In this case, the value from that array is a string, and I'm going to convert it into a number, so I'm going to multiply it by 1. And then we have to compare this value to the current variable. Alright, so if this condition is true, it means that the box number matches the value of the current variable. So we need to add a new class to the box. So we need here box.classList.add, and I'm going to call a new class active. After that, we need to increase the value of the current variable by 1. So we need here current plus plus. Okay, now it is time to use the new class active in CSS. We need to select the box with class active. First of all, let's move the box to the center. For that, I'm going to define the top and left positions. I'm going to set both of them to 0. And also for the smooth movement, I'm going to use transition with the values all and 0.5 second. Okay, so as you can see, the boxes are moving to the center in order, but that's not what we want. We need to move each box back. For that, we have to define the else statement. So once the condition in the if statement gets false, then we have to remove class active from the box. So we need here box.classList.remove active. Okay, so now we have a much better result, but as you can see, once all boxes move, then the animation stops. We don't need that. We need to move the boxes infinitely. For that, we need another if statement where we should define that if the value of the current variable exceeds the number of the boxes, then we should set the value of the current variable to 1. So we need if statement. As a condition, I'm going to pass here if current is greater than boxes.length, then we should set current to 1. Okay, so now as you can see, boxes are moving infinitely. The next step is to increase the size of the box once it gets in the center. Actually, you may think that the easiest way to increase the size of the box is to use the scale function, but that won't work because the animation is already using the transform property with different functions, and the scale function will be overwritten. So we can increase the size of the div elements using width and height properties. So I'm going to select active, then box, followed by the div element. I'm going to increase width and height. Let's set both properties to 16 rem. And also I'm going to use transition, all. Then the duration is going to be 0.2 seconds. I'm going to use here a little delay time, 0.5 seconds. And the transition is going to be is in out. Alright, so as you can see, the size of the boxes are bigger, but the sides of the boxes are messed up. So we need to fix that. We have to redefine those values of the transform property with the class active. Let's duplicate the code. Then add the class active for all sides. The only thing that we need to change is the value of the translate function. Right now we have here 3.5 rem and we have to make it 8 rem. Okay, so now everything works fine. Next I'm going to take care of the button and the heading, I mean the names of the technologies. Let's take a look at the finished project. As you see, when the boxes are changing, the content of the heading and the button and also the colors are changing accordingly. So let's go ahead and do that. First of all, I'm going to create a couple of different variables. Let's select span elements and the button. I'm going to create a new variable. Let's call it heading. I'm going to select element using query selector method. Let's specify here the class name heading followed by the tag name span. Next, let's create a new variable. I'm going to call it btn. Select it using query selector method and specify here the class name btn. After that, I'm going to create two different arrays, one for the colors and the second one for the technologies. So let's create new variable, call it colors, then open an array. So the first color is going to be EFD81D. This is going to be for JavaScript. Then the next one is going to be 61DBFB for React. Then we will have 41B883 for Vue. The next one is going to be B52E31 for Angular. Then the next one is going to be 4385-3D. It's going to be for Node. Then we will have CF649A for SAS. And the last color is going to be E04E39. It will be for Ember. Alright, next I'm going to create the second array. Let's call the variable text and then pass here names of the technologies. The first one is going to be JS. Then we will have React, Vue, Angular. Then the next one is going to be Node. Then we will have SAS and Ember. Alright, so now it is time to create a new function. I'm going to call this function text style. So we're going to change 4 different things. Those are the colors and the content of the button and the span element. Let's start with the span element. I'm going to change its color. So we need here heading dot style dot color. So in order to choose the proper color from the array, we need to define the index number of the item as the current -1, because as you know, items in the arrays have the 0 based index numbers. So we need colors and then current -1. Now let's call the function text style. So as you can see, the color of the heading is changing, but for some reason the second color is missed. Let's check the code. As you see, I forgot here the dash sign, so let's place it. Now everything works fine. In the same way, I'm going to change the content of the heading. So we need here heading dot text content. Then we have to grab the item from the text array, and the index number is going to be current -1. Okay, so the content is changing now. Let's take care of the button. I'm going to change its background color. So we need btn dot style dot background color. We need the color from colors array, and the index number is going to be current -1. So the background color of the button is changing. And the last thing that we have to do here is to change the content of the button. So we need here btn, then we should access to this span element. So I'm going to use here property called first element child, because the span element is the child of the btn, I mean the button. Then we need text content, and then we have to grab the value from text array. We need here current -1. Okay, so now everything works fine. The last thing that I'm going to do is to use transition with heading and the button. So for the heading, I'm going to use transition with color 0.2 seconds. As for the button, we need transition with background color, and the duration is going to be 0.3 seconds. Alright, so now it's time to take care of the last part of this project. I'm going to animate the boxes on click as well. So we need to loop through the boxes again and add an event listener to each box. So let's use boxes.forEach. Then I'm going to pass here an arrow function with the parameter box. So in order to add click event to the boxes, I'm going to use box.addEventListener with a click event, and we have to pass here an arrow function which will be executed once we click the box. So once we click the box, we have to remove the class active from the current box, and then we have to add it to the clicked box. We need to loop through the boxes again, and we have to remove class active from the current box. So we need again boxes.forEach. Let's pass here an arrow function, and as the parameter I'm going to use here a different name than box, let's say cube. And then let's remove class active from the cube. We need cube.classList.remove class active. Alright, so now we have to add class active to the clicked box. So we need box.classList.add active. Alright, so now the click works fine, but because the setInterval function works here as well. We have some chaos, so we need to stop the setInterval function, and for that we have to use the clearInterval method. Let's pass here interval. So now once we click the box, then the setInterval function will stop working. Next we need to change the colors and the content of the heading and the button once we click the boxes. So let's call here a text style function. So once we click the box, then the styles will be changed, but on the next click it will no longer work. It happens because the value of the current variable no longer updates, so we need to define it here as well. So current should be equal to box.classList. We need here the index number 1, then again split function on dash, then the index number 1 multiplied by 1. Alright, so now everything works perfectly. I'm going to do a couple of things before we finish this project. Let's change the time of the interval, make it 5 seconds. Next I'm going to place the first box in the center by default. For that, let's assign to the box 1 class active in the HTML file. After that, we need a transition for the boxes in order to move them smoothly. So let's place here transition with the values all 0.5 second. And finally, I'm going to add cursor pointer to the boxes and also to the button. Alright, so that's it. We have finished working on this project. I hope it was interesting and helpful. If you like this video, then please thumbs up, comment below, share it, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell to get notified on coming tutorials. See you next time.